Okay, welcome back to Nick Lenz's Comic Corner, Classics slash not classics. You know where I review. Okay, this is episode 90. That's right, this is episode 90. Only 10 episodes away from episode 100. Despite the fact I'm doing this since late November. Okay, in this episode, we're reviewing something very new. Like I said last episode, reviewing Essential X-Men Volume 1. This is the second printing of this. You might notice this because originally, now, let's see, I do have another book. The previous style of printing had the essential title on the side. This is from Volume 6. It's a layered book. This is Volume 1. Now, basically right now, the Marvel Essential title, the essential title is up here at the top, it's up on the side. So basically you can see the full cover, the full picture all the way through. This front cover is basically Giants X-Men 1, which is the debut of most of these characters who see on the cover who are jumping out of this thing, except for Wolverine. He made his debut just prior to this. And on the back of the book, it's basically the very classic Giants, very classic Kenny X-Men 100. Now, what does this book collect? This book collects Giant Size X-Men #1 and X-Men 94 to 119. Now, normally for these essential books, they start with issue 1. But this decided to start with the Chris Claremont run instead of the original Stan Lee run. I originally didn't like that very much, but I appreciate basically why. Now, as you can see, they're all wearing their original outfits except for Cyclops. Cyclops, at this point in time in the history of the X-Men comics, is wearing his second outfit, an outfit he would wear for nearly 20 years. It wasn't until around he joined X Factor he got a new costume change. Basically, like, they show the Giant Size X-Men, which is, get this, not written by Chris Claremont. It's written by Lin Win, the guy who created Wolverine. He also created Swamp Thing for DC Comics. Now, Chris Claremont does get a co-credit for he does get an unofficial credit for creating all these characters. Okay, that's why I think Lin Win writes the issue. It's debut for Storm, Nightcrawler, Banshee. Actually, not Banshee. Storm, Nightcrawler, Thunderbird, and Colossus. With those four joining the team along with Wolverine and Banshee. Sunfire briefly does join the team during the Giant Size X-Men, but he leaves right afterward. He leaves right in the following issue. But this cover has been homaged a few different times over the years. Let's see. It's been homaged for the first issue of Ecstatic. Let's see. I believe it was like several other issues over the years. Now, Giant Size X-Men 1 does not get as many homages as, let's say, Kenny X 100. Excuse me. That issue has been homaged so many times over the years. The most recent homage was the second to last issue of Kenny X Force, which was issue 16 of Volume 2. Basically, a homage to this. Now, basically, this whole book deals with the early Avengers. Now, the only people who make a debut in the book, besides, of course, the regular characters, and of course, these characters join the team. Basically, you have now Wolverine. Now, his point in the book, this takes place right after, no long after the events of Incredible Hulk 182. Now, Xavier references his last known appearance. Okay, as a matter of fact, yeah. So basically, this is his first ever appearance since 182, which is the conclusion of a 3-part story. Then you get introduced all these different characters. Oh, there's one other character that does introduce this book, and that's Illyana, Colossus' sister, who does later join the X-Men years later. Well, first part of the year, then she does join the X-Men officially. Yes. Thunderbird and Sunfire are the ones really reluctant to join the X-Men. Now, Xavier at the time was always going around wearing a suit. He does still occasionally wear, well, he did wear a suit before he was killed recently. Now, he does introduce a Cyclops. I do like the fact that he introduced new costumes looks like Wolverine was already wearing a costume. Now, Wolverine, if you notice, Wolverine is wearing his second outfit at the time. Not his brown or any of his other costumes over the years. He's wearing his second outfit. Not his debut outfit, his second outfit. Not what he would wear up until around the 80s. Yes. And this image just, now, the book itself is entirely black and white. Yes, the DC Showcase book is pretty much the same way. And they get to basically what happened to the X-Men. And he's wearing a modified version of his original visor. Okay. But basically, this feels like really interesting. Of course, unlike comics today, this book is actually continuous. Also introduced to Kraka. This is just a giant size X #1. But they introduced several different stuff, and of course, Beast, of course, is absent of this issue. He's actually with the Avengers at this point. And in issue 94, which is the first new issue of Kenny X-Men since issue 67. No, 66. Yeah, 66. It's basically Return of Count Nefardia. And it's also the first official mission for some of these members. Of course, Sunfire quits on most of the original X-Men except for Cyclops. Jean Grey does later on rejoin, staying with the X-Men. She's the only one besides Cyclops that does stay. And of course they fight these very C-list villains. You probably never heard of these guys. These are known as the Anti-Men, a group of 4 different individuals with Amalite powers, who show up for this issue, the following issue, and the Theo character shows up for one at a time, and then they'll show up again. They're very obscure characters. Count Nefardia is not. Count Nefardia recently showed up in the pages of Moon Knight. Well, apparently he was the kingpin of L.A. I don't know why. Yeah, but of course, and this is actually a 2-parter. And, like, next issue, War Hunt. The covers are drawn beautifully, despite the fact they're black and white, but they're drawn pretty well. Emma showcases her stuff. Thunderbird is somewhat very reluctant. I don't understand why Storm is drawn like this. This is what she looks like at the time. Look at that. Yeah, she looks like that from today. Now you can't tell it's because it's black and white, because they show the cover clearly she's black. That's how she in the comic, she's never referred to as a black woman, ever at all. In any of the issues I have ever read from Kenny X-Men, she's never once referred to by her race color. Never. She is referred to basically be from Kenyan, and she also be American, but she's never referred to as being black. Probably because she's too hot. Yeah. And this is issue 95, by the way. And at the end of issue 95, Thunderbird dies. That's right. Thunderbird dies. And he remains dead for years. It's not until the events of the Road Show he comes back. Okay? That comes issue 96. I'm just trying to abbreviate these issues. And Cyclops is cemented with the loss of Thunderbird, picks up right where the last issue left off. And this issue is also the introduction to Moira McTaggart. And this is her first ever appearance in the comic. And of course, Banshee follows up with her immediately. Banshee, on the other hand, besides Wolverine, he's actually one of the oldest members of the X-Men by age. While the rest of the X-Men looks like they're probably in their early 20s, Banshee is probably pushing 40, and of course, Wolverine, who knows how old he is at this time. Yeah. And this issue also sets up toward Defense issue 100, basically Stephen Lang and his X-Sentinels. Yes. Of course, they fight some aliens. And of course, and then issue 97, it brings back Havoc for some odd reason for him to fight each other. Havoc and Hellspawn brings back Lorna Dane, who does not have who does in this very issue develop her identity of Polaris. Yes. Yeah. And this issue is also an introduction to the real Eric the Red, because it's referenced in this very issue that Cyclops was Eric the Red. Heck, he was surprised. The fact he says, "You're Eric the Red." He's like surprised to see him because he briefly posts as Eric the Red. And of course, Polaris is wearing a Shi'ar outfit. Eric the Red Now, this particular story is partially adapted into some episodes of the X-Men anime series, which I do like. Yeah, because you read it, it's like reading the original tales where they got this. And he's not the only priest to show up in this issue. Okay, then in the next issue they bring back the Sentinels. Yes, this is also some Christmas thing. And they bring back the Sentinels, pretty much how they look traditionally, yes. Yeah. This is an issue, I believe this is issue 90, let's see, just 1 second here. Issue 98, yes. Yeah. I think these are the Mark III Sentinels, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. Of course, the X-Men get captured. And it continues in 99. This is actually a 4-part story. I'm just trying to abbreviate quickly as possible with this. Colossus mentions his brother Mikhail, who is a villain in the Marvel Universe. They go out of space, take on Eric the Red. Yeah. And then the issue ends. Issue 9 ends. What's setting up for the 100th issue for the series, where some Xavier's telling the original X-Men to kill the new X-Men, and bam, there it is. That cover, which has been homaged so many times over the years, and they fight. It's like Mortal Kombat. The command's all stood up, and then everyone's like, fight, and then the X-Men just pummel each other like crazy. And later it turns out these are actually robots, not the real X-Men. Of course, at this point, Iceman and Angel had already joined the Champions, Beast was with the Avengers, and of course, Jean Grey had already briefly, at that point, when we joined the X-Men at this point. But this is a really good issue. And it finally concludes with issue 101 with the debut of the Phoenix. Now, this was later retcon when they stepped X Factor by John Byrne. That this was not really Jean Grey. This is actually the Phoenix manifesting as Jean Grey. And this would basically be this way for a few years. And of course, they debuted her Phoenix outfit, which is actually her third outfit, which at this time is supposed to be green. Yes. Though she later adopts this is her regular Phoenix outfit. Yeah. For some reason, Banshee likes to wear just like an Irishman whenever he's not in costume. It's something quite odd. Yeah, trying to check on Jean or condition. And this issue also introduced the Cassidy Keep, a castle owned by Banshee. Also, in this very issue, of course, people are trying to best disguise this costumes, but this issue also brings out the return of the Juggernaut, and I think this is the debut of Black Tom Cassidy, Banshee's cousin, in which it does continue in the following issue. And this is also featuring the first time ever that the new X-Men fought Juggernaut at this point. This is true, okay? Because none of these X-Men ever fought him before. And of course, it does give somewhat of a brief origin. This issue also brings a brief origin story to Storm. I don't know why they gave her an origin, but it did. But, yeah. And then it continues in issue 103. So it's like multi-part, so they just continue. Storm is somewhere in original outfit. They fight Cassidy Keep. And then it turns out that then the story continues in the following issue, where it brings about the return of Magneto for the first time, well, in publication-wise, since around issue 60. Now look at this cover. This cover is basically a partial homage to X-Men #1. It's basically a redone cover, but Cyclops and Magneto are the only ones from that cover. This is the new X-Men's first time they ever fought Magneto, who I think is wearing back his original outfit. I don't really know. I'm not really keeping up basically how many costumes. He's worn several different costumes over the years. Not as many like Cyclops, Storm, Wolverine, or the others. Yeah. They fight throughout most of the issue, then the issue ends with him retreating, and of course this issue also is debut of Leandra. Pretty much how she's appeared in the series. Also, this issue is also the debut of Cornstar, Cyclops' father. course, later on he does find out he is his father. And in the following issue 105, it's a debut of Firelord. Well, Firelord actually is an old, this is the first of several times he appears in the X comics. He appears for several issues. This issue is also the debut of the Starjammers, and also the first time Leandra has met Xavier for the first time face to face. Now, Misty Knight's also in this issue, so basically it's not surprising. And then basically the issue continues in issue 106. Now, this is like a I think it's like a 5-part thing. Yes. And of course there's an imposter X-Men show up in issue 106. Yeah, of course 106 is just a filler issue. Yeah, it does not really advance the plot. It turns out all illusions casted by the Dark Xavier. New appears as one issue. Now, I'm thinking, why in the world would issue 106, even though the previous issue ended with them going to space, why would they have that filler issue then? Made no sense. They missed location there, I don't know. And 107 was also an introduction to most of the Sheer Empire, introduced to the Imperial Guard, though most of them all dead now, Denk and the Mad Emperor, man who gets killed years later, and Wolverine takes his costume, takes Pharaoh's costume, well, Fang's costume, when members of the Imperial Guard. Of course, Leandra tries to get sacrificed. Of course, Wolverine is wearing the outfit. He doesn't like wearing the outfit. He does. And of course, it gets a full-fledged debut of the Starjammers. Hazabeth looks like this. Let's see if I can get a picture of her. Yeah, that's what she looks like at this point. Yeah, she looks totally different now. Cornstar has not changed very much over the years. For him, it's not very hard. Yeah. And, she also has a brief cameo of Reed Richards and the Fantastic Four as a brief cameo because it takes place in all the universe. Yes. Issue 108 picks up right where that leaves off. There's some more Shi'ar stuff. This is just issue 108. Now, I don't really much, and of course, Miss Nash shows up for a brief cameo appearance. Of course, Cornstar does find out. He does find out Cornstar is Scott's father. Of course, later on, he does find out. And issue number 0. And issue 109 is debut of the guy known as Guardian, who at this point has called himself Weapon Omega. He's also called himself Major Maple Leaf, stuff like that. But this is his debut. This is one of 2 times he tried to get Wolverine to go back to Canada. But ultimately fails. Of course, they get back from space, and the one Banshee first thing he wants to do, he wants to make out with Maura McTaggart. Yeah. Storm, and this is something nothing unusual for Storm. Storm likes to walk around in the nude. Locking off her hair covers up her private parts. But this is one thing she loves to do. She likes to casually walk around in the nude. She does this all the time. I don't really understand. She basically likes doing this. I don't really know why, but she does. Jean's parents, and of course there's a brief scene where Jean's parents are shocked the fact she comes to Phoenix. Of course they go to town. And of course, the Canadians show up, and all of a sudden, bam! I'd say, about almost halfway through the issue, Weapon Alpha shows up, aka Guardian. He shows up and they fight. Pretty much most of the issue, and the only reason why the fight is called off because Moore gets injured. She gets grazed in the fight, and Banshee goes on a rampage against Weapon Omega. But they do come back. He does come back about 11 issues later. In issue 110 is basically a guy called Warhawk. Basically takes over Danger Room, like that. Wolverine basically just got claws. Yeah. This is a very odd issue. It's not exactly a very good issue. It's very dull and boring. Yeah, some one-shot character goes up. He gets beaten by the X-Men. Summer 6 most of the issue. Yeah. And then comes, by far, this is the first time this actually has happened. In Wolverine the X-Men, it basically the X-Men brainwashed the power of circus. This is the first time in issue 111. Yeah. Yeah, they're all brainwashed to become sideshow freaks. Of course, Hank is back to mention. Hank is the first one basically who goes to look for them. And the first one to pick out their trance is, in fact, Logan. He's the first one to do that. And of course, and it turns out the person behind this is Mesmero. Yeah, this continues also in the following 2 issues. Yeah. And it turns out the one who's actually someone behind this is, in fact, Magneto, who wants to get rematched with the new X-Men. And he does, but he does by sending a circus cart to outer space. But like if this magnetic bubble basically does that. He basically sends Mesmero on his way, where he goes possibly to jail. I think he does later return, but the Magneto issues are generally usually very good. And of course it continues in issue 113. More fighting with Magneto. Held captive by Magneto. Storm crying. These are okay issues, but these are not the best Magneto issues there are. Yes. And of course, the following issue apparently were issue 114, where the X apparently die. And it turns out they've been sent to Savage Land, and this is the first time in some time they've been sent to Savage Land. And of course, also the same issue, they get introduced to Kazar. Shuron makes his debut in the following. Shows up in the following issue. Yes, all wearing strange Savage clothes. Though for some reason, next issue they're all back wearing the original. They're all back in their costumes. There's no explanation exactly why this is. Yeah, all of a sudden later on, bam, they all automatically get back in costume. And of course, Shuron shows up, which is surprising. Yeah. But this is the first time Shuron, first time it's issue 60. And of course, they introduce his real name, Carl Bucks. And of course, his issue is the return of Kazar. Of course, it doesn't matter. And of course, off this is also the view of Garrock and this anointed priestess, Zendala. Yeah. Of course, this guy also fights the pages of Kazar. Save the Savage Land. This is a 3-part story. Yeah, something about Sun God. Yeah. My opinion, some of the Savage Land stuff is okay at best. Spider-Man, whenever he's there, usually the story is really, really good. X-Men, it's okay at times, yes. And of course, they got the Savage Land. And they all get back to, somehow they fight their way to get back to New York, and they get back to the mansion, which is drawn beautifully in this issue, by the way. Of course, Xavier flashing back when he first met Mora. Yeah. And of course, when he first met Storm. Yeah. Some strange Egyptian character pretty much shows up in this brief flashback. Yes. This issue is also to do with the Shadow King. Basically, it's a really calm issue. Of course, Miss now has to leave. And this is the last time she shows up in this series. She leaves and he goes to the Power Man 5th series. Yeah. And in issue 118, Sunfire returns to the series, first episode issue 94. And the reason why because the X-Men go to Japan. Not to see him, no, because they feel like going there. Of course, this does Leander stuff. Missing does return briefly for the issue. Yeah, basically back in their private detective year. Yeah, of course they're in Japan. The Japan issues are generally usually very good. And of course, it turns out the person behind all this is Moses Meganium. I think this is the first time since the Power Man annual will be showing up. Yes, he just shows up for this 2-parter. He's also fought Black Panther, Spider-Man, the Punisher. But it's nice back to see him fight somebody else. He fights the X-Men. I think he loses as well. But basically, he tries to sneak Japan. He does the same thing in Ultimate Universe, too. But, yeah. Of course, Christmas is celebrating the issue. And of course, next issue is the debut of Alpha Flight. Now, overall, what do I think of this book? A lot of the issues in this book are really good. The only ones I didn't really care for very much. Now, the Shiara stuff is okay, The one stuff I didn't really care much was the Mesmo stuff. So I give this book a rating of 8 out of 10. Okay? And that's a really good rating. It's not bad start to Chris Claremont's run of his 186 issue run for the series. A run that goes on to issue 279, where it ends there. He also has 70 annuals. Okay? That's it for this. Okay, I love this book. What I recommend is, yes, only if you're an X-Men fan. Alright? So, that's it. Stay tuned for our next episode. Will be episode 91. Yeah, and I'll be deciding exactly what I'll do with you. Double shot or single shot, okay? See you there. Bye.